Welcome to the Authentic Living and Loving channel, where we feature stories about individuals that are living to the beat of their own drum, doing things a little bit out of the ordinary, living authentically and inspiring others to do the same. My name is Dr. Jordan Alexander, and today we are fortunate to have Mimi Jamieson with us. Mimi is a graduate of Developmental Psychology, lives in Canada. She's certified as a sex therapy and hypnotherapist. She takes a unique perspective to creating positive and beneficial change with her clients. She believes that you are the healer of all that troubles you and trusts that you have all the answers within yourself. Finding that truth is what Mimi does. She helps by using a range of modalities to help you face the challenges that you need to overcome to live a full life with understanding, healing, and peace. Welcome, Mimi, and thank you for joining us today from beautiful British Columbia.
Hi, Jordan. Thank you for having me. It's exciting.
How's the weather out there? We're just coming into summer, but I guess you guys are right bang into winter right now.
Yep, it's starting. It's gray. It's a little gray outside. We've had some beautiful days through October, November, but it is starting gray.
Well, thanks so much, Mimi, for joining us. And I just wanted to start a little bit about, some people might be thinking, they've been enticed by the whole, you do hypnotherapy and sex therapy. And quite often these are taboo subjects. And I wanted to just introduce people a little bit about the younger Mimi, how you got into this, a little bit about your life and growing up. So maybe you could share with us a little bit about the younger days for yourself.
Okay, how I got into this. Well, it's been like for a lot of people, it's been quite a journey of transitioning from my interests of what I wanted to do. But I guess in the early stages, I was a hairstylist, and I had this vision of working in Hollywood with big actors and all that stuff. I was quite the introvert before I started hairstyling, and I realized I need to change. Right, if I'm going to be able to be a good stylist and get clients coming back to me, I needed to be able to break out of my shell and talk to them. And so it was sort of one of those oddly like overnight just become a new person. And, it's really funny. A lot of friends and family were just like, who is this person? Right. So it's kind of the start of illustrating to me the power of the mind to shift your perceptions, who you are, your life. I wasn't that in tune to it at the time. I just knew that's what I want to do. And there's only one way to go about it. Just do it. So I started in that realm. So hairstyling clients, and of course, as a hairstylist, I want to talk, right?
Absolutely. If my hairstylist ever wrote an expose, they would be able to reveal all the dirt.
And that's the truth. That is the truth. There's, they share, especially come back and see you every month, and it's very therapeutic. So in essence, I feel like I started as a therapist early on. And then I traveled, spent 3 years overseas, just getting to know myself more and more and more. And when I came back, back to Canada, I knew that hairstyling was not the lifelong be all for me at all. And therapy was definitely the direction that I wanted to go. So I studied that. I went into the University of Victoria, did my developmental psychology degree. Had planned to pursue further, but oopsie, got pregnant. Right? So life starts, right? Life comes and you deal with it, and you just go with the flow, and life happens. And then throughout the years, working in counseling capacity mostly with teenagers, troubled kids, as a foster parent as well. Working and advocating for children and youth with mostly behavioral developmental needs and concerns, and a lot of the troubled cognition of youth and families, and we'll call it dysfunction of, although there is no real functionality of family, it's always diverse. So working in that, and then I continued on to work with predominantly with teenagers and their families. And as my own family grew and my children grew older, I also realized that I wanted to do more, that there was something very substantial that was missing. And I realized, I came to find that hypnotherapy had a profound effect on making change.
Fantastic.
It was
I
amazing.
really want to get into the hypnotherapy side, because you can get some great results, as you've said. On the finding yourself part, I just wanted to. A lot of people often say that the best therapists are the ones that have done the work on themselves, and is that sort of a, do you feel that it's a profession that attracts people that are generally curious and they want to understand, with your therapist friends and things? I mean, is there a common skill base or personality type?
No, it's quite diverse for sure. But the interesting thing is I have a lot of clients after they've been with me come back and say, I want to do what you're doing. It's amazing. And a big part of it is personal experience, right? Really being able to empathize with your clients. And that people really need to pick and choose their therapists. Don't just say, okay, they're a therapist, so they know all, and this is a hypnotherapist, they'll do that. No, it's interview, meet a bunch of them, because you will know the ones that are more authentic, the ones that are more empathic with their abilities because of their own experiences. And I think that's, such a gift for me. The challenges that I've had in my life have allowed me to be able to really have insight into other people with very similar challenges. And the challenges I've had, there's just a huge scope of them that have presented themselves to me throughout my lifetime. So I have a lot of areas that I can touch on that have deeply affected me, and I found my way through it. And I believe that is really the key to being able to really support and nurture the clients that come and see me.
So it's more than just getting the qualifications, isn't it? I mean, there are great doctors with terrible bedside manners that make you feel like there's something wrong with you by having an ailment. And then there's people that have never, gotten the credentials, and you talk to them or you work with them, and oh my gosh, you feel like you're a transformed person because you can feel that connection.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
you can shop around. So you're suggesting people should shop around, find that fit and that connection, and get that feeling that somebody you could work with. Is that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's really unfortunate when people come and say, oh, I've tried therapists and therapy doesn't work, or, oh, I've tried hypnosis and it doesn't work. And they're like, how many people did you see? And it's tough that it takes, one person one professional to ruin a person's perspective. Right?
But I think it's not, I guess it's surprising and it's unfortunate, but by the same token, I think there's that whole, especially when we were growing up, there were a certain mana, we would say in New Zealand, or a certain prestige associated with people with a degree, in a therapist or whatever. So it's almost like they've gotten the right to work with you, and we assume that they're going to have all the answers and that they're going to be this wonderful person. But I guess in just like everything, there are people that are good at what they do. There are people that have greater compassion and empathy. And there are people that, like you say, if you don't necessarily get that right fit, it's not worth throwing baby out with bathwater, particularly if it's a modality that might help. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like you love the hypnotherapy. So maybe let's just dive in there. What is it? One of my fears whenever I think about going under, if you will, is like, well, what's going to happen when I'm under? Is it going to be, you've seen movies and TV programs where you know, all sorts of things happen. So explain to me what it is, and to our viewers, what can they expect?
Yeah, it's media loves to vilify the hypnosis. It is so different, and it's so big. You know, there's hypnotism, there's hypnosis, and then there's hypnotherapy. So there's a difference in these, right? There's the stage performers, hypnotists, that can affect highly suggestible people. They can't actually have an influence on everybody. But that's magic, right? That's entertainment. Hypnotherapy is significantly different, especially when it's actually combined with talk therapy. So when it's really therapy utilizing hypnosis as a tool to go further than talk therapy can go, then it's incredibly beneficial. But for sure, there's a lot of people, myself included, who are intimidated, not myself anymore, but who are intimidated by the idea of going into a trance state and having somebody influence them. That's not what it is. The reality is a person's mind is in control at all times. So if a person is comfortable with the idea of going into trance and really, really wanting the work, really wanting to change, they're able to go to a deeper level of trance more quickly, more easily than someone who is incredibly intimidated, very afraid, very concerned. So those people will stay lighter in their trance state. So they'll be much more cognizant. They'll be, you know, really hearing everything, following everything, and staying very, what we say, light, just staying very light in their level of trance. So a person is always in control of how willing their mind is to go deeper or not. So it really does put my clients at ease when I express that they're just going to lie down and relax. I'm just going to, or stretch out or whatever. I'm just going to talk to them. They're just going to have their eyes closed, and they're going to hear every word I say. And I will guide them and give them suggestions, and their mind will reveal what it wants to reveal, will go where it wants to go. But it's not something that is done to them. It is something that is happening within themselves and what they're willing to allow happen. So they are always in control. If they don't like what they hear, they can communicate, they can share their words and say, no, I don't want to go there. You know, I keep them safe. It's really, really important while people are in that state of relaxation that they are very, very safe, protected, that nothing is going to come up to be traumatizing or re-traumatizing.
So how long so if I'm a really open-minded person, and I trust you, you know, we've had communication, and I feel that, you know, I want to work with you and let go, and how quickly can some of this stuff work? And conversely, I guess, you know, are we talking about 5 years later and I'm still going to see Mimi? You know, I mean, give me an idea of time frames and how that all works.
It's, pardon me, it can be very fast, depending, again, on the person's ultimate desire for change and their level of suggestibility. Just like everyone, we're all unique in our own strengths and areas of suggestibility. So it can be very fast. I have had clients that have had 1-2 sessions, and they're like, it's fixed. Like, I'm good.
Wow.
I don't need this anymore. And the neat thing is I draw in other things. So if a person comes to me for one thing, and we might find after 2 or 3 sessions that they've got it figured out, and we say, okay, well, you know, and even in those 1 or 2 sessions, I'll say, what else do you want to fix? Like, what else is frustrating for you? What else is annoying for you? So we throw in, it's just, we get to take everything, right? Like, oh, I bite my nails, or, you know, I really hate it when I hear my partner chewing or snoring. I'm like, oh, let's throw that in there too. So it really varies. based on studies that have been done. Alfred Barrios is a psychotherapist who has done a study of studies, where he assessed the effectiveness of various types of therapy. So talk therapy, psychotherapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, and hypnotherapy. And hypnotherapy being the most successful. So with the study of psychoanalysis, where the an outcome of recovery from their concern, that the success rate is roughly 35 to 40%. He states 38%. That behavioral therapy, behavioral cognitive therapy, and after sort of the psychotherapy, upward of 600 hours of therapy before they get that outcome.
Wow. I'm sorry, I just don't have that kind of time.
Exactly, time and money. Cognitive behavioral therapy being closer to 22 sessions to find success rate at roughly 72%, and with hypnotherapy being roughly a 93% success rate after 6 sessions.
Wow. Oh my gosh, I had no idea. That is fast, and that is, I mean, 6 sessions, I can do that.
Right?
That's, actually, well, I mean, I obviously live in a different part of the world to what you do, Mimi. Can you do hypnotherapy by distance? Or, I mean, that kind of seems counterintuitive. Is that even a possibility?
It is a possibility. I do have remote clients. Unfortunately, as great as our technology is, there are hiccups, right? Just so I have done it. I can do it. What I tend to do with my distance clients is that we will have a talk session through, some sort of video or even phone call, and then I will design their session, their hypnosis session, and then send it to them. But I have done so. I have done remote through social media.
Okay. All right. Well, that's promising because, I mean, there are a lot of people that sometimes there's that slight distance as well. I know there's that you want to try different things, but it might be an easy way of putting a toe in the water. Just seeing that, oh, okay, it's nothing that I need to be worried about. And, we can kind of move on with that. I'm curious, as I'm sure some of the viewers will be curious as well. What are some of the, some of the most bizarre kind of issues that present, and without breaching any confidentialities, what's the kind of, oh my gosh, I never thought that would come across the threshold of my practice?
That is hard to say. I'd say that the stuff that's kind of like, wow, are phobias. People present with very unusual phobias. So I'd say that those are the ones that mostly make you go, huh, really interesting, that the strangest things that you would think, there's no reason to actually be phobic, be really afraid of that. But they are, like, there's some studies on body parts that people are really afraid of and can't even look at, or a thread, a loose thread, or just very, very unusual triggers, that can cause just severe heightened anxiety, heart palpitations, panic attacks from something that 99.9% of the population would never be traumatized by, let alone affected by in any way.
So Mimi, you don't go back and figure out, when, at what point did the thread or the toes or the ear lobes become an issue? You treat from this point going forward, that you desensitize that, or how does that work?
Yeah, good. That's a good way of looking at it, desensitizing them, yes. But we do go back. What we do is often the subconscious will, if it's ready to let go, it will reveal the source of that. And it was never the insect, the snake, the spider, it wasn't that was fearful. it was a situation around that at the time people connected, their visual connected with that spider or with that snake. And there was an environmental trauma that happened in that moment, in that second. And their association, the mind clicks with what they saw or heard or smelled. Smell can even trigger trauma. So it's what happened, what they visualized at a state of trauma. So we can go back, taking care of them, keeping them really, really safe, and see if we can go back and find the initial traumatizing situation and then be able to explain it. Because more often than not, it happens early in age, where a person's mind isn't fully developed to comprehend or understand what it was that they were hearing. You know, children hearing a parent or their parents having sex, and it sounds scary. So is that, you know, that could be the trigger of something's happening over there, but they just happened, you know, a fire engine went down the road at the same moment. So now the trigger of hearing sirens triggers an uneasiness, a fear in them. It's not about the siren. It's not about what that potential danger is that the siren is going after. It's about the memory of the fear of the parents hearing the noises from the other room.
Mm.
So that kind of connection.
So is there anything that, I mean, that sounds really, really logical. And I mean, and we are diverse, and in some things that freak me out, I'm sure, you know, you kind of go, okay, you know, different, whatever. Are there any no-go zones? I mean, there are a lot of, especially when you get into more sexual side of things, you know, there's different fetishes, there's different bizarre things. Are there any no-go zones? So if I come to you with the most, you know, obscure, bizarre, by, you know, public standards, oh my gosh, that's really, really weird, or something that I'm really embarrassed about. I mean, we just, my husband and I just recently watched Devil's Playground. Oh my God. And that was all about the Catholic priests and the young kids. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to ask Mimi about these things when I talk to her on our interview. But is there something that either A, from an issues perspective, you would say, no, sorry, I'm the wrong person, or something where your values, you know, conflict, or, you know, are there no-go zones? And what do you do with those sorts of things?
No, for me, there aren't. I know that certainly a lot of people do have their barriers, that they know their limits and they're not going to go there for various reasons, like you just said. I don't. I've had all sorts of people, all sorts of history, their experiences, their fetishes. And certainly in the beginning, being aware that this could happen, I thought, well, I'd be able to do that. But I can kind of rise above that and recognize that every human being that comes into my office is a human being that is experiencing their trauma, their concerns for a reason. And I will never judge. I'm not one to judge. They are the worst judges of themselves, right? They have to deal with so much already. This is a safe place. There is no judgment, and I recognize the normalcy of uniqueness and quirkiness in human behavior and sexuality, and it's there for a reason. And every human being deserves to be able to find a way to find peace inside themselves.
Sorry, go ahead.
And to heal, ultimately to heal. And if I can help them with that, how great their life will be, and the people around them and their influence on other people. It's that ripple effect, right? And so no matter what the challenge is, no matter what the history is of the people that come in, no matter who they are, and it can be pretty intense at times, to just be able to, leave out the door and bring them in and recognize that they are a human being that was once an infant, a child, vulnerable, hurting. Their environment has impacted them tremendously in the most horrific ways. And if I can give them safety and create love inside themselves and understanding and forgiveness, that's key, huge in making change.
Well, one of the things, I mean, and that's your calling, and that's your passion, and as you speak about it, you can see that this is something that is so important to you, and you're helping so many people by doing what you do. And on your website, you've got a quote there by David Rico. Our wounds are often the openings into the best and most beautiful part of us. And I love that. I love that. There's just so much in that. There's the potential, but it's okay to fall down and hurt yourself. Like you don't learn to walk by, just automatically one day waking up. You fall over, you get, you scratch your knees and things. What inspired you to use that quote on your website?
Well, I wanted to give him props. and there are brilliant minds out there, and there's just so much, it just resonates with me, right? It just is so true. The reality of us becoming better, more whole human beings, to get there, we need to go through some darkness. We need to go through pain so that we can grow. And people come with the most traumatic and devastating experiences, and I'm able to get them to the point that they recognize that there is this cliche silver lining to this, that through experiencing their pain and by going even deeper into it, by digging harder, we get to the source, we get to that raw, vulnerable part that really, really needs that attention. And there's so much self-learning that happens through that. And there are just doorways that open that never would have been open had they not been there.
That's so exciting. And especially as people, I think we go through life and some areas, I guess for our own sake, whether it was when we were younger or maybe it's a failed marriage or something that's happened, and we almost kind of go, well, we just have to deal with it. It just becomes part of a scar, and we don't have to deal, maybe we'll just let it sit there and be whatever, I've gotten over it. But then something else will happen down our journey. It's like, damn it, I actually have to pick up that bloody boulder that was I've been dragging it along thinking that, no, it's not following me, but, so it's kind of, that kind of stuff happens, doesn't it?
It really does. It really, really does. And that's, I talk to almost everybody that comes in and say, okay, you've done an amazing job. Your subconscious has done an amazing job at keeping that bandage over that wound. And, it's time, right? It's festering. It's festering. It's time for it to be revealed and to be properly dealt with, healed properly.
Is there a case study or an example that you can use that might be related to, love and relationships where, somebody's come in and, like I could show up and it's like, everything's all cool. I just, being married for a couple of years now, things are just getting a little boring and whatever. And what happens and something might reveal that's further in my past, or, just give me a bit of a case study where it relates to love and relationships, where something that was presented and then it actually ended up way different,
Absolutely. Case studies in particular, this is a lot of the work that I do is with clients. So for myself, clients will come in presenting, as far as my own case studies, presenting is, we don't get along, we keep fighting about the same old stuff. I think we need to figure out how to communicate properly. It's just not working. As a sex therapist, they come in, well, in the beginning it was great, and then like all of a sudden it's not anymore. I don't know what's happened. Like there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with her, with him. So the presenting thought of what is wrong is never what is really wrong, right? So the reality is, what I do is recognizing, okay, a couple comes in and they're really, really challenged. They're fighting a lot about things, and things aren't working well. They're just not communicating. And I back it up, back up. Why? What is the situation? Did that always bother you? It didn't always bother you. What happened around that time that it started to bother you? There are underlying issues, and a lot of times the day-to-day effects, the relationship that are having problems, the day-to-day things, it's not about the day-to-day things, it's about their intimacy. It's about their unmet needs. It's about one that has all of a sudden just turned inward because of something else. Couples that come in with sexual indifferences and challenges, it's often not about the physiology. It's about what's going on. There was infidelity, or there was a lot of speculation about what's really going on inside of it. So a lot of mistrust, that there are other things on the outside that are affecting their sexual life. So it kind of goes both ways. And I feel really fortunate to be able to have the time to sit with couples together and individually to really dig deep and find the truth of who they are and what they're experiencing, to find that, there it is. That's what's really happening. That's the deep seed.
So if you mentioned just briefly, the physical side, and the emotional trauma and things, and I'm just kind of wondering, with something that's a simple or very publicized area, something like, erectile dysfunction as an example, is where people will say, well, okay, it's a physiological issue, or there's all sorts of ads on other wonderful benefits of Viagra and those sorts of things, but is it a physical thing? Is it a mental thing? Is it a both thing? Is it something that you treat with both? I'm as a woman, I don't know, particularly, but I do know a lot of my friends talk about, a lot of my girlfriends will say things like, I don't think he's interested in me anymore. I found some Viagra in the bathroom cupboard. I'm thinking, why is he not talking to me about this? If there's a problem, I'm happy to have that conversation. Got other men who are saying, my desire is not there. Are these the kinds of issues that I would come and see you about? Or is this the guy comes and sees you, or we both come, or not, as the case may be? Anyways.
Pardon the pun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Bang on, you've got it. There's it is really, really common, right? So erectile dysfunction, I have plenty of clients coming to me for that. It is both. It's biological as cognizant as well as physiological. So the reality is, if a man sort of 45 and under, 40 and under are having erectile dysfunctions, and I'll say dysfunctions because, again, it's an experience. It's not actually a dysfunction. So labeling is a big part for me. We're going to tear away the labels. There are no labels. You're having a hard time getting hard.
Yeah.
That's the reality, right? So you could, and now you can't. So why is that? It could be definitely something to do with biology. The testosterone could be low. As they get older, it becomes a lot more prevalent with age. But it doesn't have to be. And the duration of it, the strength of it definitely changes with age. But a big part of that is what happens in their mind around it. So if a man has a problem having a strong erection, then all of a sudden he starts to get in his head, what's wrong with me? What's happening here? I'm not a man if I can't do this. Then that's negative messaging that's feeding into the subconscious as you're not good enough, and it starts to become very intimidating. So being in our head, men and women, once we get in our head about our sexuality, our abilities, our challenges, it will lock down our bodies. The ability to enjoy sex, the ability to have it the way that we used to have it. Just it's just like a barrier, a doorway that closes off our body. So a lot of people, once a man has a difficult time having an erection, he's going to have a second difficult time and a third difficult time, because he's getting in his head about it. He's anxious about it. He's worried about it, to the point that, I don't even want to have sex tonight because what if I can't, right? Then the Viagra comes in. And a man carries, typically, many carries so much shame around that if they can't get big and hard, they're broken, and they feel a lot of shame and embarrassment about that. So there are a lot of people, I'll tell you, ladies, it's normal. If you're going to find Cialis and Viagra, and don't do your best not to confront in a negative way. That's a really, really important. Negative messaging, right? If a partner is like, whoa, what's wrong with you, right? Like, you don't like what I'm wearing? Is it me? Am I getting too fat? Like, my gray hair, is that like, and they internalize it and personalize it where it's not their issue at all. So it's really important to recognize, okay, this happens. It just happens. And so making it safe and saying, okay, we'll look into it, maybe see the doctor, do some blood work, testosterone levels. But it's so important to make it normal, create a very loving environment for that, because as soon as there's negativity associated, their shame just explodes.
It's really it's interesting, because when I think about some of the conversations that I've had with people as well, the same people that will be complaining about the issues in the bedroom are the same people that when they say that they have a good conversation, they spend time at dinner connecting, they end up having the best sex that they've had in ages. It's almost like the pressures come right off. They're really enjoying each other's company. It's kind of like best friends, best mates, and it just sort of slides into a really beautiful place of intimacy, as opposed to, just the physical side of it. And I mean, is there sort of, I guess there's no judgment between it's just sex or it's making love or but does that have an impact if you're communicating and feeling that connection, and does that give you more confidence, or is that just a different way of connecting?
It makes a huge difference for women in particular, more so than men. Our love language, you've heard of this, right? Our love language, it's out there now. Our love language is through feeling appreciated, respected, feeling special to our partner, our mate. When we see them do those little extras, it makes our heart swell. And our intimacy, our state of arousal comes through our heart. When we feel safe and respected and loved, then we feel more at ease. We're able to let go and be a little more vulnerable, and ultimately enjoy sex so much more, because it's so connected intimately through the heart, and the body follows. The same isn't true for men. They don't typically require all of that preamble for it. But they do require a safe environment. They require a partner who accepts them for who they are, who doesn't judge them, who doesn't nitpick about, you're gaining weight, or your muscles are sagging, or, let's shave that or wax that, or all of those little things that, of course, they're incredibly aware of already. And so it also needs to be really safe for them. So it's really important that for their sexual ability, they need to feel safe too. They need to feel appreciated. They need to feel desired. And if their partner's not providing that for them, they're also going to become inhibited, and their vulnerability is going to shut down as well. So creating that loving, safe environment.
It's interesting. I mean, you've mentioned some of the differences between men and women and how we perceive those things. One of the things that I've found really interesting, living in New Zealand as well, is just the different cultural aspects that enter into daily life. And I'll give you an example of one of the things. Breast screening. We have ads that are targeting Pacific women around getting breast screened. And because there's this whole series of taboos around, cultural taboos, and every culture has different sort of discussions around these things. But we were finding that the health area was finding that Pacifica peoples were not going as frequently to get their, to get breast screened, because it's, you have to reveal yourself. There's church elements. So the public awareness agencies they've kind of hammed it up a little bit, and they've got all these, a bunch of gals going, come on, ladies, we're going to go and get screened, and they've created a bit of humor, and it's such an important area, but that's a specific fix for a specific cultural, solution. Do you see the different cultures, permeating through the work that you do, and different solutions and that sort of thing as well? Is there a different rule book, or how does that all work?
Hands down, absolutely. It all comes from our belief, our foundational beliefs and our religious beliefs and our cultural influences. More and more, the world is becoming more Western per se, with their openness and understanding of the importance of connection and intimacy and sex, but it certainly isn't. It isn't, in fact, everywhere. And where I live, I don't have a hugely diverse population coming in, but I have worked with many different cultures, and that is an important factor. Is in my intake with people, is to determine how their cultural beliefs, their religious beliefs, their familial upbringing, how those are impacting what they are experiencing and what their limitations are. So certainly when we have two different cultures in union together, it can be problematic for them without proper help. Right? So it is working around that, and it is important as a therapist working with people is to be really aware of their culture, of their belief system, their moral values, and to not impose our Western or my own ideology onto them. We need to work within what is comfortable for them, and where are they okay. Often if they get to the point that they're coming into my office, they realize that something has to change. So it's a negotiation, right? It's compromise and figuring out exactly what is going to be okay and what language am I going to use to make it safe, respectfully, right? But definitely cultural upbringing plays a huge part in it.
That's really interesting. The so I just want to sort of revert back to Mimi again now, just a little bit, because obviously you're helping other people, and the work that you do is very, very fascinating, and it sounds like there's literally no go zones. You've tackled all kinds of issues, so no one has to be fearful of the kinds of things that they think might be weird about them or odd about them. That anything goes. You can. You're willing to have that conversation and help them through in any issues that they have. When it comes to you living a full life yourself, do you have any principles or rules that you live by that might be of use? Like, do you have, what are your top 3 non-negotiables, or how do you sort of make sure that you're living a healthy and happy and full life?
Okay. 3 principles that I live by. I would say predominantly truth. I speak to my clients about, there's essentially this area that I focus on of truth, belief in intention. I don't know if I can narrow it to 3. accountability for self, that level of self-awareness, and recognizing that we are all flawed, and that everyone has their own perceptions. Um, Being able to, I would think being willing to feel compassion even when our guard is pushing against it, right? So to recognize that everyone is a human being and they are who they are for a reason. They deserve to have the stage for a while. They deserve to share their truth. It needs to be safe. So, I guess living by those things, non-judgment, right, is important in how I live, in working with the clients that I work with, in walking through the city and seeing the people that are around me on the street or freaking out in their cars, or trying to remain neutral and understand there's a reason that person is who they are right now in this moment, and I'm not going to be one to judge. There's Give them the benefit of the doubt. I've raised my own children with that it's I don't it's so important not to present judgment, but understand that there's a reason behind that, and to do your best to be your best person, to offer compassion and forgiveness. Just do your best. It's a ripple effect. You give, and you watch others around you feel that relief, right? And so, one of the things my kids have said to me is, "Mom, why are you smiling at people?" Right? When they were little, they're like, "Do you know them?" "No, I'm just smiling." Like, and you see other people, you smile at them, and they smile back. It's that wonderful ripple effect.
I 100% agree with that, Mimi. And it changes your mood as well. I mean, when you're walking down the street with a smile and everyone is so damn busy, and especially we're recording now, at Christmas time, and it's like, I don't know what happens to people's manners. They seem to go out the door, but having that, treating others the way that you want to be treated. And when you smile, I mean, you exchange a smile with a complete stranger on the street, and you both feel fantastic. There's absolutely no doubt about it. What about what motivates you? So sort of professionally, how do you keep challenging yourself? The area of work that you're in, there must be a million different things that you get bombarded with, particularly with technology and the exposure to so many different newfangled therapies and different ways of, solving things. How do you personally keep on top of the game, challenge yourself professionally, get, set some new goals for yourself, that sort of thing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I could do with more organization in my own life. You're right, bombarded. Being specialized in 2 areas, kind of 3, I guess, as a hypnotherapist, as a couples therapist, and as a sex therapist. I am constantly delving into new studies and new research and new books and new people from all 3 of these. So it can be a little overwhelming, but I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. So I am a person that is a huge advocate for human development. We need to continue to evolve. We have so much in us. Our capacity is so huge in what we can do and who we can be, and remaining stagnant in a state of, oh, this is just who I am. That's just, it's a little unfortunate when someone takes that stance, because there's so much more. It's huge. So for me, I'm constantly reading and studying and developing, and as far as for all of my certification, of course I need to maintain a certain number of hours every year. Well, I've got that covered in a week, right? Like there's so much in between, and I learn from my clients, right? My own experiences, but my clients as well. They are my educators as well, and that's such a blessing for me to have that people come and share their truth with me, and allow for that vulnerability. It's so amazing for me, and every session.
So Mimi, how would you define success? I mean, you've got some air, you're obviously living your love, you're living your passion,
Mhm.
you're helping others, you're respectful and honored by that, that mahi, we would say in New Zealand, your work that you do for others. How do you define success?
I would say to really define success, it is in the success of my clients. When take goosebumps. When we wrap up and they are a changed person, their relationship, it has been saved, their marriage has been saved, their sex life has exploded again. That is success. Like, that is just, it is so honoring for me to be a part of that, to help change their life, to give them tools that they can carry on for the rest of their life to use, is really incredible. When I get referrals, people come in and say, oh, I came to you because of this friend or this person, and that is success, right? I don't think there's any greater way to measure it than a person saying, you need to go see Mimi because she fixed us.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I didn't. I just showed you the way you fixed yourself.
Yeah.
But thank you. It's an honor to be able to help introduce that pathway to let people find their own healing. And yeah, that's amazing.
Do you think, I mean, with my coaching, I do sort of more on the love side and relationships, and I know exactly what you mean around the satisfaction and the success of, someone feeling more confident about themselves, about doing things that they thought before that they were nervous to do, and there is an explosion, I think, as well, in it being okay to have a coach, go see a therapist, talk to people. Do you think it's a trend? I mean, people are always saying nowadays, particularly because of the technology, and people are becoming more distant and becoming, there's a lot more ways to communicate, but yet you sit across from somebody at the restaurant and the whole damn table's got their cell phones out and doing whatever. Do you think that we're becoming more open to communicating and sharing things? Is it a trend that you're seeing?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of negativity associated with the idea that people are so locked into their social media, but that social media outlet is phenomenal. It is helping people. There's access to support groups, thousands folds of whatever your issue is. There is support out there. There's help out there. It does interfere based on some of the studies that I've done, as well as how I've seen it, using social media, being so locked into does have an influence on a person's comfort level of one-to-one interaction. For sure that there is a little more of a hiccup in that respect, but I think more importantly is people are sharing more. They can be faceless in social media, and then they can ask the questions, they can do the research, and they can get this community of camaraderie and safety, which is absolutely brilliant without them having to reveal themselves, really. So I think it's really wonderful. I've seen it in many ways in my own children, and what they've been able to acquire through their network of friends, their group chats of the support is just astounding. Far more than anything I ever saw growing up.
It's great and refreshing to hear that perspective, Mimi, because I know that a lot of certainly what I hear is all the negative side, but by the same token, you and I right now are using a technology that's able to connect us at literally opposite ends of the globe and share some of the really taboo areas where people can then go, oh my gosh, these aren't these weird and wonderful things that I've heard about or saw on TV. These are possible tools and ways that I can, solve some of my own issues. So that's, I think, we do have to look at the silver lining, as you say. Just as we're kind of getting to the end here, I just wonder, because it's the Authentic Living channel, are there is there any advice, or do you have one strategy or something for those people that are kind of thinking, oh, I wish that I was doing something else, or I wish that I was experiencing something else, that ways that people can live more authentically or just be happier in life? Is there one bit of advice that sort of comes to your mind that you could share, just to encourage people to live their authentic life?
Well, that's a big question, Jordan. Oh, wow. I would say, if we're going to narrow it down like that, be true to yourself. There are so many imposing factors in our life, the social expectations, the roles we need to maintain, the shame that people carry, the fear, talking about, just the idea of, I have this inside of me, but no, people will think I'm a joke if I pursue that. So no, they won't be able to take me seriously. I'm just gonna, keep it hidden. Like Jess Stewart, like, who you interviewed, right, and how she was talking about that imposter syndrome.
Yes.
Right, that we've got this inside of us, but oh my gosh, if we put it out there, what if we're going to be, no, we're not going to be good enough, and people are going to judge us. So yeah, I think the statement of living authentically is to live from your truth, to be able to recognize that everybody has a truth. And, just like the idea of being in school, and, the teacher asks a question, the person doesn't want to put their hand up because the others might laugh, but there's half the class that would be so thrilled when that one person asks a question, because they're like, whew, I didn't need to ask it, but I'm so glad they asked it. Like, this is the reality, is be more aware that everybody has their inner self that they're not expressing. Everybody has a truth, and it's refreshing when we do see people share their truth. And so I'd say go for it. Right? Just live your truth. Be able to present it compassionately, gently. I use this in relationship therapy of with your partner. You need to share your truth, and it might not always be easy to hear. It's often not easy to hear, but when you present it with compassion and love, truth is the stuff that makes the change. You're not going to make the change. You're not going to be that person authentically if you're not willing to dig deep and find your true self and bring that out.
Fantastic. That's not bad for a quick soundbite to inspire others. Maybe that's brilliant. Thank you so much, and thank you for sharing your life and a little bit about your story and the work that you do, and a little bit more about staying happy and how others can address some of those areas of their life that maybe they've been delaying on, and that they can actually deal with those issues in a very safe and quite quick way, as opposed to the olden days where we thought, we're going to spend 600 hours in psychotherapy. So those are some really important, debunking some of those myths is fantastic. And I think it's going to be really, really helpful. And the other thing that you mentioned to me before we started was that you're happy to offer our viewers a little bit of a discount. Just jump in and share with us what you're happy to have viewers do.
Yeah, okay, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, let me know that you've seen this, whether you live in Victoria or anywhere on the island or even remotely. And I'd like to be able to honor a nice discount for you guys. Certainly any referrals, also that passes on as well. It's Christmas time, so I'm offering a free session for referrals to come in, that they can come in and have an introduction to what it feels like to experience hypnosis, and a free sounding board. So good time to give gifts to your loved ones, and or take advantage of a 15% reduction in my package. And, yeah,
That's
it's
very
really my
generous.
honor.
Very, very generous. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us on the Authentic Living and Loving channel. If you have a story to share that will inspire others, we'd love to hear from you. So until we meet again, I'm Dr. Jordan Alexander, encouraging you to join the UBU revolution, and let's all live a life we don't need a vacation from. Thanks so much, Mimi Jamieson.
Thanks, Jordan. I really, really appreciate this opportunity. Thank you.
Cool.